Hey guys, welcome to the live. Hey Blue Moon. Hi Larry. Hey Jean. Hey Phil. Hey Marsha. Hey guys. Awesome. Well, let's have a fun time. So, Jean says it's 50 degrees. Marsha says it's 80s. Soon it will be summer. Well, it's summer for some in different parts of the country, but not for me here, obviously. So, hey Tom, I'm still in my faithful favorite hoodie. So not quite 80 degrees here, but I hope you enjoy it, Marsha. So awesome. Well, we have some questions. Let me just refresh the homepage. Let's see here. Hi, Tony. Lisa has questions. Hey, Barbara. Hey, Santa. Let me just see. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's start with some questions. And first, before we do that, so first let's bring in our entourage. Okay, so everybody's entourage is because, well, we all have our own power, but together it's well, more the merrier, right? So let's bring in our entourage and let's bring in ourselves. Let's bring in our higher levels. Okay, so and just the intention is more than enough because you are the creator. So your intention, well, you're commanding it to be. So even if you can't feel your entourage, can't see them, whatever, and even if you're not feeling yourself, that's perfectly fine. But let's continue to bring you in. So right here, right now. Hey Sandy. Hey Nancy. Hi Joe. Hey guys. So yeah, so I think there's a lag with YouTube and Patreon. I don't know. So because I feel like I've been live for a few minutes already, but now or I'm just seeing everyone's comments now. But yeah, so first of all, let's bring in our entourages because see, they're very excited to connect, to communicate with us, to well, to play with us, to have fun with us. So why not invite them in, allow them in, and also bring in ourselves, our higher levels, and everything, all of the struggles, all of the problems. I'm not denying that I'm not saying they're not there, okay? But let's just, for a minute, let's just put them outside of us, okay? So, someone says hello from the Gulf of America. Yes. Let's see. So let me get, there's some good questions on Patreon. So because I found Jean's question to be awesome because so many people relate to this. So she says, all my life I was the giver and not the receiver. Is receiving the way to manifesting through a heart of love? Is surrender the road to this way of love? I'm on my way. Woo! Jean's on her way, guys. Let's cheer Jean on. Woo, Jean. Yeah, let me get a drink before I answer that. So, well, being the giver, being the receiver, there's a polarity in that, right? So, just to make you aware, well, I'm trying to find the right words to put this. See, because, okay, let me explain. Giving, well, what do you mean by giving, right? So, because when I tune into it, so many have different definitions, but often this is really a pattern that everyone in humanity goes through, right? So if you love someone, or if you are a good person, then you sacrifice yourself for others. And then somewhere along the way, you will get whatever you gave away back in return, either by salvation through Christ or the aliens. No, I'm just I'm just kidding. Or by some other form, it will come back to you, right? So you basically, when you say give, are doing things for others in the hope that others will do the same for you. Okay, so and that's the thing. So this is how humanity has learned to what love is, basically, and it's a human construct. Okay, because why would anyone that loves you want anything from you? Why would they see there's attachment in that? Why would they need anything from you? Does that feel like love? Okay. Why would anyone who loves you want you to sacrifice yourself for them? How is that love? Right? So and the thing is, love, so humanity has learned that love is, well, we've made it into a construct of the mind where there's a perception of lack. So there is no lack of love in the universe, okay? So it's not that you give it away and then it comes back. When you do it from the heart, when there's no attachment, you're just sharing the love that you are. And of course, that magnifies it and brings it more love to you, but it's not possible for it to be taken away from you. Does that make sense? But so many give, okay? And I've done it too, right? So that's how I know. And how does it feel to basically be the backbone of maybe the family, or basically try to make everything okay for everybody else so that they're happy? And that's what we call love. And then you're over here, no one's really taking care of you, and you're suffering, and you are just kind of keep doing the same thing over and over again, trying to make everything okay for everybody else, and everybody is put before you, and then you're last, right? And then of course it never comes back to you, or it never seemingly feels like it comes back to you, because, well, it's an interesting thing, because see, awakening is, why are we doing what we're doing? So why would you do that in the first place? Trying to make it okay for everyone else. Basically trying to be someone that everybody needs, that nobody can live without. Why are you doing that to begin with? Right? So is it because it's from the heart, so without attachment? Or is it because maybe you don't want to look at what's going on with you, so you try to save everybody else? It's kind of a distraction, right? And a lot of times, actually not a lot of times, all the time, okay, when you see lack in others, it's actually coming from your own subconscious, okay? So you're seeing the absence of your presence, so you're projecting, because darkness is the absence of light, okay? So you're projecting your subconscious onto others. You're projecting the absence, where you're projecting it onto others, okay, your pain and suffering, and then trying to fix them to make it okay for yourself. And that's why it feels like it never comes back to you, because you cannot change another person's reality or make it okay for them. You can only change yourself, or the way that you view your reality. Does that make sense? So the thing is, you don't have power over others. You actually don't have the power to make it okay, whatever that means for everyone else. You only have the power to not even make it okay for yourself, but but you only have the power to make it okay for yourself. Just using, I don't necessarily like those words that I use, but just because I can't find a better word for it, only you have the power to change And what people are searching for, right? It's just trying to find your way home outside of yourself. So oftentimes it happens a lot with women. I'll use, and men have it too, of course, but since Jean is in a female body, we'll use the woman's perspective here. So the woman has children, and she has the husband, and everybody comes first and she comes last, and it's really what she really wants, why she's sacrificing herself or putting everyone before herself, is because she's hoping to get the love from them, right? When you break all the perceptions down, okay, within the subconscious, just to make it very simple, is searching for love, wanting the love from them, okay? And the thing is, of course, the divine beings that they are, everybody is love, so everybody loves everyone. That's a given, okay? But what she or the mother or the matriarch is searching for is herself, the love that she is, and they don't have the power to bring herself home, only she does. So it's just another way of searching for yourself outside of yourself, okay? So by giving, right? And the thing is, so I like to use the animals. We can use June for June as an example. So uh, because another way I would word this differently. So giving, a lot of people's definition is, when I tune into it, it's basically doing what other people want you to do. So I'm giving to you, I'm doing whatever you want me to do, and that's not love, obviously. But let's use June as an example, because I don't do everything that June wants me to do. If I did, June, well, it just wouldn't be in the best and highest for myself, right? So I can't bend over backwards always doing what June wants me to do. But actually, at the heart of it, June doesn't, because she is love, the love that she is, doesn't want anything from me. And she certainly doesn't want me to be anyone other than who I am, right? That's true love. So humanity is just not learning, but basically transcending all of these perspectives of what we have been taught love is, right? So love is basically when you do what someone wants you to do, or when someone is doing what you want them to do, then, oh, I love you, okay? And then when they don't do what you want them to do, oh, you're evil, or there's something wrong with you, or you need to get right with God or whoever. I mean, so Jean says, the sharing is what I feel I was missing. Yes, because see, the more that you bring your higher levels in, the more that you come back to yourself, then the more love you have to share, right? So, and the thing is, so what do you mean? Because I know people are probably wondering, what do you mean by bringing your higher levels in? So, yeah, Francis says, get right with God. We all just got to get right with God. What does that mean? It just basically means, when people say that, well, you need to do what God wants you to do. Okay, well, where is he? Who is God, and why, if God is love, why would God want you to be a certain way other than what you are? And if God is the creator, why would he create you one way and with only wanting you to be a different way? It doesn't make any sense. This is all belief systems and stuff that's created from the minds that humanity has bought into. So but bringing your higher levels in. So what do I mean by that? Because it's something that so many are, well, it's kind of like a foreign concept. Ideally, in the mind, you listen to my YouTube video, oh, that sounds great, I'm just going to bring myself in. Whatever. So that's also, it's not a concept, okay? It's actually done energetically. Okay, so we bring literally, so you can even imagine a golden stream of light, whatever assists you, whatever helps you, and your entourage is always there assisting you in doing this, but it's literally done from the heart energetically. Okay, so when we feel down, when something is bothering us, so we put all of that outside of us. Okay, first of all, just by making the intention. Doesn't have to be so dramatic. Often it's not, just it's very simple. So and then you can even imagine a golden stream of light, it coming in through your crown chakra down through your chakras. Okay, and as much as possible, dropping your focus from in between the eyebrows down into the heart. Okay, and even turning your attention not outward but literally inward and feeling your body. Okay, not psychoanalyzing it from the mind, but literally feeling yourself in the body. Okay, and then breathing in your presence, and on the exhale letting everything go. Okay, and then you can start to break down, so what is really going on here? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And entourage come in and assist me in transcending this. Gulf of America, yeah, that's funny. Heather says, why am I being triggered by something that I've already healed? Does it keep coming back till he finds the original fracture? Well, it's yeah, it's one layer. So yeah, I've explained before. So it's one layer after another. Okay, so and oftentimes one one perspective can have so one root to something. So I'm just tuning into your wonderful presence, Heather, and your ego's wonderful presence. That's why I'm laughing. So because what I hear automatically when I tune in is it's not going. I know. I like to laugh at the ego because it's so funny, but and it doesn't hurt to laugh. But what I hear is it's not going the way your ego wants it to go. Okay, so exactly that. I've transcended one perspective and it shouldn't be there anymore. So how dare, it's the ego interacting with the ego. So how dare it be triggered again? And I'm just have to, I'm just supposed to do it once and then it's over with, and then I'm enlightened. Okay. So because it's, and I understand it is like well, it's a diamond in the rough, right? So you're peeling and scraping away at all of the dirt, and sometimes it feels like it goes on forever. It's just that there's so much depth, okay? And this is not the easy way out, okay? So that's why so many actually don't take accountability for themselves or the ego, because it seems so overbearing, so overwhelming to not let your to really take a look at all of this. Okay, so first of all, we can give yourself a pat on the back for taking accountability and for coming back to the heart. So everyone can give Heather, woo, Heather, a big round of applause. Uh, uh, and Heather says, never mind, it was my ego triggered, not me. Well, of course. What else? I mean, why would you, as yourself, why would the creator be triggered? So, but of course it's the ego, right? Because it's, and there's one, um, it's just one perception after another, because there's so many layers to it. I mean, think about how many lifetimes, and this is, it's really what it all falls under one umbrella, okay? And it's the old paradigm. So money, power, sex, greed. Okay, and basically the idea that the love is outside of you, the power is outside of you, and that has led over so many lifetimes to all these perceptions and buying into all of this stuff. So it's all connected. It's really one root, which is basically the love is outside of you. So I'm just getting distracted by the chat. But so it's just one layer after another, right? So and specifically, so if we look at um I'm just getting distracted by my entourage now. So if we look at all of your lifetimes, okay? So and bring them in front of us, okay? And it's just one perspective after another. If you were to tune in to each one, it's getting caught up in the identification of the body and the mind, and then really buying into the ego, because then there's the perception that you can die, and then creating a life where you basically try to make yourself safe. So basically building it off the ego, but is so uncomfortable at the same time, because by going into the ego where you think it's safe, you're actually moving away from your eternal presence, which is why it's so uncomfortable at the same time. So it's just one layer after another. And specifically in this lifetime, Heather, so those that are showing up, those that are triggering you, they are representing, so you may have a big problem, right? And it seems like a problem that persists. So maybe with a family member, right? So, and it's just, it never ends. So you transcend something, it feels further away, and you feel like, okay, I've got a handle on this, right? And then something else comes up with that family member, right? And it's like it happens all over again, okay? And that's actually a wonderful thing, because that dear one is letting you know that you have more stuff to look at. They're actually doing you a favor, right? And one day soon, it will be, you will feel completely and totally neutral, and nothing and no one will be able to perceptively bother you. Okay, so it's just, you know, if you wanted to give up, you wouldn't be on the chat today, right? So you haven't given up. So woo. Nobi says, hi Megan, hi Valnek, hi everyone. I miss you all. It's great to hear again. Valnek says hi too. He was distracting me. He says, I'm a gentleman. I'll let Megan speak. And he's rolling out the red carpet for me. I mean, he's joking with me, because I know that's why I was laughing, because I'm hogging the show. He says, I am cheering you on. He says, way to go! Exclamation point. So, Sylvia says, can you please give a simple example, the difference between thinking from the heart versus the mind? So, because see, the thing is, so many are stuck in the mind. So let's talk about what I actually mean by that. Okay, so, and let's break it down. So, and that's actually what I love about the horses, because they're never in their mind, okay? They're always in their body and feeling their love. That's one of the benefits of having a body, okay, is that you can feel your presence in the body, okay? The mind, so just to be clear, you have the body, right? And the body has a mind, okay? And then you're the love, the light that comes into the body and gives it life, okay? So, but so many have gotten so stuck in the mind, they perceive themselves to be the body, and then they perceive themselves to be the mind, and then your consciousness is just stuck up here, okay? And it's like the mind makes everything very mechanical. Okay, so wash, rinse, repeat. It's a computer. Okay, see, how could a computer understand the unlimitedness, the vastness, the eternity of source? It's like trying to funnel yourself into like a little pinprick. Okay, because even you are so big, you can't fit into the body. So it's just a part of you that's in the body right here, right now, okay? And then, and that's why so many experience this reality as a prison planet, or because they feel so stuck within the mind and they're only experiencing a very small part of themselves, okay? And they cannot feel it either, because the mind cannot feel anything. It's a computer, okay? So when you say thinking from the heart versus the mind, the heart doesn't think at all. It's the heart. So it is where you bring the love that you are, where you bring your presence in. Okay, well, if you want to, okay, if not, you can stay in the mind. But it's literally, you are feeling, and you are who you are. Okay, and you're feeling the love. So, and then what happens is you can use the mind as a tool to translate how you feel. Okay, so, or and translate your presence, so how you view things, how you feel about the world. And that's why when I say I'm trying to find the right words, I'm literally trying, I'm trying to use my mind to try and find the right words that could accurately convey how I feel. And oftentimes, actually all the time, it comes up short, because you can only say so much with words. And the mind, by definition, because it's a computer, is always trying to define things, but creator cannot be defined. So it's kind of an oxymoron. I know I kind of went off on a tangent there, but basically the heart does not think at all. It's just you are. So I'm watching one of the horses sleep. So Kahira, well, she's not really sleeping. She might be, but her eyes are open. But she's just there in her body, okay? And she's not, I know she's not really, well, she's not in her mind, and she's not thinking of anything. You can actually tune completely out of your mind, okay? Believe it or not. It's just, oftentimes my mind, whatever, because it's an information processor, it's always thinking, okay? But that doesn't mean that I have to listen to it, right? The same thing with Kahira, June. So they are feeling their presence within the body, the love that they are. If they need to go do something, they can make the mind do whatever, or go in and make the body move or whatever. But they're not, well, they're not in their mind. So I hope that makes sense. That's the best way I can describe it. But thinking, that by nature, the heart does not think. It's only the mind that thinks, and you are not the mind. Okay. So let's see. Let me check in to see some of these other questions. Lisa says, is Sananda in entourages, or is he just sort of a freelance consultant, so to speak? Let's ask him. So we can bring Sananda in. That's what I said. They're also excited to join us. So for me, he is not Jesus, okay? That's just maybe a character he played at one point, okay? So it's what we're calling in is a consciousness, okay? So well, why would he just be in entourages? Well, why can't he be both? Because, see, creator is omnipresent, so consciousness is omnipresent. So Sananda is omnipresent. I am omnipresent. The extraterrestrials, not their bodies have limitations, but they are omnipresent, okay? My body is not omnipresent, but I, as the creator, am, okay? So he can be, it's not, well, you can be in two places at once, or even more than two places at once, because we're non-physical beings, and so is Sananda. Does that make sense? Love Life says, please explain transmute. I think I'm doing it, but I know there's more. Thank you. Love you. Love you. Let me get a drink first. So it's an interesting question, because Yeah, so let me adjust. I'm just tuning into it because so yeah, so I'm just tuning into it. So when we transmute, or so there's a perception, right? So something negative happens, or perceptively negative, and we're going to transmute the energy from negative to something positive. Okay. And it's an interesting thing because how do I explain this? I'm trying to find the right words. Let me think of an example. So well, because why would we need to transmute it? So so first of all, okay, so let's say um there's I'm just going to use a dramatic example. So some people might not like it, okay? But so well, something happens that's negative, and so I'm going to transmute all of this density, all of this energy, all of this negative energy that I feel into positive energy. So, and that's positive and negative is relative, okay? So it's still, to be totally, well, it's still doing it from the mind. Okay, so when we see, we want to take the energy out of something. Okay, so address the feelings or all of the stuff that is coming up. So let's just say you lose your job. Okay, and you're feeling very negative, feeling very down. And so, and because there's this idea on the internet saying, well, you just transmute all the negative into positive, or maybe your friend is going through something and all of this negative energy, we just have to transmute it into positive energy. What you're trying to do then is change it, right? So change it from something that is undesirable and then change it into something that is desirable. So I don't like the negative, I only want to feel the positive, okay? And it's still, can you hear the judgment in that? And that's how we know it's coming from the mind. So what we can do instead is actually address the judgment that we have. So instead of trying to, that's kind of what the love and light community does, right? So where all of this stuff is negative, we're just going to transmute it into positive. We're going to kind of, in a way, separate ourselves from all of the murdering, the raping, the negativity, all of the abuse. And that's all negative. So we're just going to be over here. And any energy that comes at us, we're just going to try to either stay away from it, or we'll just transmute it into positive energy and make everything great over here. And it's still the ego trying to run away from something. And actually, when you run away from something, you're not running away from it, you're giving it energy, so you're bringing it towards you. Okay, it's the same thing as fighting. And then when you're trying to change something, so literally taking energy and changing it or transmuting it, it's really your, well, doing it from a place of judgment because you don't like it, or it's perceptively negative. You're just really giving it energy, so then you're making more of it for yourself. Okay, so but I know, so what can we do instead, right? So instead, so we lose our job or something happens, we feel all this negativity, or you feel someone triggers you, and you maybe it's, you make it about them, but really it would be about the ego. So you feel negative, right? So we actually want to address the judgment behind that. Okay, why is this coming up? Okay. And so, first of all, we bring our higher levels in, we ask our entourage, so why is this coming up? Okay. And what assumptions have I made? What judgments have I made? Why is this perceptively bad? Why does this feel the way I do? And ask ourselves questions. And just taking, start to take the energy out of it. So just by addressing it, okay? Because can you see, and literally telling ourselves, okay, I'm okay, my body is okay, the ego is okay, okay? Instead of trying to change it, just we can look at it from the overview and take a look at it for what it is. And why is this showing up? Okay? Because the thing is, what we perceive to be negative energy or negativity in our life, it's the ego's way of saying, well, I don't like this, I wish this wasn't happening, and it's bad there, and it's negative, and it's not supposed to be around. The reason it keeps happening over and over and over again is because it's actually you, your higher levels, and your entourage bringing you situations and giving you the opportunity to look within and say, okay, am I done with this perspective? Okay, am I done with playing these games, playing really from the lower paradigm of money, sex, power, greed? Okay, so you can try to transmute stuff all you want, but it's your higher levels bringing you these situations, right? So it's like someone, if you have a boyfriend and you break up, well, I'm just going to find someone, I'm going to transmute this energy, and then I'm going to go find someone like this. And then you get into another relationship, and then that doesn't work out the way you want it to. And I'm just going to transmute this. And then I'm going to go find another relationship, and that doesn't work out. And that's why you experience the same thing over and over and over again, because it's literally your higher levels asking you, are you done with this pattern? And asking you to look within, why is this happening? And why did I bring this into my experience? Not in a way that you deserve to suffer, not in a way that you deserve bad things to happen. It's just the creator does not know good, it does not know bad, it just knows love. So, it's actually doing that out of love, bringing you these situations. Okay, so that's my spiel on that. So because, see, when you try to transmute something or you're changing it from the outside. And actually, it's the energy, it's really what you're feeling is actually the density really within the body, within the emotional body. It doesn't have anything to do with you, but coming up to the surface. So why don't we also just let all of that crap come up to the surface so that it actually can be released? And then welcome the love that you are in. And then there's really nothing to transmute. Does that make sense? So, anywho, Lisa says, do you think visualization can help a little bit? If someone feels a lot of armor in their body, visualization of the central sun melting the armor. So would that help? So the body feels very dense at times, right? Or almost like a rock. Or many are not in the body, they're in the mind, and so they can't feel the body. Okay, so you can visualize it. Like if something assists you, please don't go and be like, oh, Megan Rose said that doesn't work, so I'm not going to do it. I mean, no, please go. If it assists you, please, and you feel like it's helping, then of course, why not, right? But when the body feels very dense, so what can you do? So, and oftentimes I'm just tuning into it, because if you're trying to visualize the central sun to dissolve the armor, okay, where are you doing it from? So is it from the heart, really bringing in your higher levels, or is it from the mind trying to visualize something to fight it? Because if you're visualizing something to fight it, then you're just going to bring more energy to it. Okay, so maybe when the body feels very dense, maybe just, I mean, even something as simple as going for a walk Okay, really doing something that you enjoy. So whether it's being with the animals, or that's what I do, so I can't think of anything else, but maybe just doing something you enjoy, okay, and going for a walk, maybe doing some deep breathing and just letting it all come up. So instead of fighting it so much, because there's also a well, there's a lot of judgment that there's one path back home, okay? So it has to be a certain way, it has to look a certain way, and why would that be the case? So my way home is my way home for me. I am my own. There is no other being like me on the entire universe, okay? And likewise for everyone in our entourage and everyone on this live, okay? So why would we all have the same pathway back home? And that's why the creator has no judgment, okay? So however you transcend things, however it comes up for you, is wonderful. That's awesome. Okay. But if you feel like it's not working, or you're not getting the results you're wanting, okay, then of course, yeah, we can take a look and see what's going on. So my question to you, Lisa, would just be, okay, have you tried that, and how has that worked out for you? Okay. And are you visualizing? So first of all, visualization, guess where it comes from? So, and I'm laughing, and I know this is so hard for people. I almost said so, because visualization, it's so it's one thing for you, your higher levels, to be using the mind and having a visualization to translate what your entourage is saying, and how your higher levels and how you are feeling and perceiving things, okay? It's one thing to have a visualization that represents the communication that your higher levels are trying to give to you, or your entourage, okay? But it's one thing, then it's another thing to try to purposely use the mind to make a visualization when it's just from the mind and there's really no energy behind it. It's just a visual. I hope that makes sense. I said to myself, like, many months ago, that, well, really, Valnek, the supervisor, and I, he says, I am here too. He says, I am letting Megan speak. She has a lot to say. It is her show. And he's going like this. We said to ourselves, me and my entourage, that many would not, really understand what the heck I was talking about, or what I'm trying to convey, because quite literally I am speaking a different language, okay? It's not that nobody else speaks that language. It's just, it's outside of the matrix, it's outside of the mind. And there's so many who, their hearts would understand, but of course the minds and the egos would not, okay? So, but that was a risk, and is a risk I'm willing to take, because, well, humanity is done trying to find their way home through the mind or outside of themselves, really. So, how else would we do it? So, that's how. Anyways, Valnik is showing me a book. He's showing me two books. Uh, uh, He says our previous publications. He's showing me the door closed, and then he's showing me the door open, and there's another book. So, uh, he says it's a secret, and he's winking. Okay, thanks for letting me know. He says we have more to share. He says humanity is growing. He says the supervisor agrees. We are one, we work together. And he's showing me the planet, and then so much light coming into the planet, and everyone growing and flourishing. Okay, so literally out with the old and in with the new. So this is a new well, we're bringing in the new paradigm. So, and he's showing me a bell, and he says freedom bell, and he's ringing the bell. So yeah, because actually you can see so many still, and it's okay because we take the wins where we can, right? So so many lookouts are still looking outside of themselves, and it's, well, they feel like, and it is true, so there are many wins going on, right? So with the government, if you live in the United States, well, it depends on how you see it, but just for the majority of people that are subscribed to my channel, so there's so many wins going on outside of us, but it's not the government that can truly liberate you. It's you that liberates yourself. So that's wonderful, all this stuff going on outside of us. But we, as individuals, are all becoming whole and complete within ourselves. So it really doesn't matter if the government is full of people who are in service to the rest of the population, or if they're like tyrants, because we're whole and complete within ourselves. So hi Don, hi Laura, hi Tasha. Tasha says, Megan, do you feel the energy? I dreamt about my brother who is naturally organized. It felt nice. Well, sometimes just before you wake up, that's when dreams are happening, right? So it's mixed in a lot of times with the subconscious because the brain is processing information that it can't while it's awake, okay? But that can be a time where we can get a message, or we can sometimes be more open in a sense, and that's where we can get messages from our entourage. It can also, most of the time, it is the subconscious, but there's a small few seconds, okay, where we don't have any judgment yet because or the ego's not there yet, so it's easy for us to tune into that stuff. Laura says, I resonate with your language and have had experience that confirmed how these perspectives controlled the mind actually work. Sandy says, I'm holding on to what you're trying to teach, but I'm not sure my path is to stay here on this channel as it's not resonating with me. Well, why hold on to anything? So why hold on to what I have to teach? See, I'm not really teaching anything. I'm just, because we're not really learning anything. We're just basically releasing what does not serve us. Okay. So, and resonating. So the thing is, because part of it is to looking at me or someone else or whatever who has transcended quite a lot. It can feel like they are removed from my reality, or they don't understand what I'm going through, right? So, and particularly what comes to mind is all of this sexual abuse, pedophilia, murderers, right? So, and how can Megan sit there and say that it's all love? Because it's not. So, because I see it very, I'm just tuning into the energy, okay? Because I'm not saying that I see it this way, but because you see it so differently, right? And that's what you mean by it's not resonating, right? So when people say resonates, okay, someone in the chat just said resonates. It really, what it means is you see it the same way, or you basically agree with my perspective, or you disagree. So no one has to agree with me or disagree because because it doesn't it doesn't matter to me, right? So, and that's completely understandable. So those dear ones, okay, are the murderers, the pedophiles. They are completely misguided. Okay, so I'm not saying, and obviously murdering is not love. Okay, sexual abuse is not love. Okay, what I'm saying is that that's where that is coming from, because so even when the letter 17 came out on the internet, and COVID was happening, all of that stuff started to come to light, right? What was happening with the children. And that's really how I started my channel, and I experienced that myself. Okay, and what I this is my conclusion, this is how I transcended it. Okay, because I couldn't live the rest of my life waiting for an abuser to be held to justice, so to speak. Okay, or I mean, even thinking of the Jeffrey Epstein victims, right? So those women are still, I mean, he's dead, right? So in the whole world, yeah, there hasn't been legal, those documents haven't been fully released, okay? But the whole world knows he's a pedophile and was involved in sex trafficking, right? But it doesn't bring them back to themselves. It doesn't see, making it worse or holding them accountable, or holding them up to the justice system or whatever. It doesn't bring the energy that they feel like they lost back to them. Okay, it doesn't make, I know that from experience, it didn't make me whole and complete within myself. Okay, so it's, someone says LOL, Epstein dead. Yeah, well, maybe not. So, but it doesn't really matter, everyone knows he's a pedophile. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so don't mess up my example, don't distract me. So but it doesn't, see, it doesn't bring them what they are looking for, because what those victims are looking for, they're not, they may believe that they're looking for their abuser to be held accountable, right? And then that's going to make the abuse okay, or not make it okay, but somehow get even. And the thing is it's an energy exchange. There is no getting even, because you cannot get that piece of yourself back to yourself by charging the other person with pedophilia charges, by killing them, by, I don't want to use the word harming another being, but just by affecting another being or trying to change it for another being, you can't get that piece of yourself back. Okay, so really, all of that if you are a victim of all of that or have experienced that, that's the answer that I found, is by looking within and actually transcending it, because my higher levels brought that experience to me for a reason. Okay, so because now I know who I am, okay, and I get to share it with all of you, and that's how I can assist the children. So instead of saving the children, instead of looking at them like victims, I can see them for who they are. They are the creators, because I know who I am, and I'm not a victim of anything. So that's what all of this is about, is actually transcending victim consciousness. So I don't need some abuser to be killed. Really, it's their body that you kill. So that's an illusion in itself, okay? Or an abuser to be locked in jail, because they're outside of me. They have no effect on me at all. The only way they can have effect on me is if I believe that they do, and then immediately I'm enslaving myself. And that's why so many perceive it to be a prison planet, because they believe that others have power outside of them. So it's not that I come on here and I'm ignorant to all of that going on, right? It's just that I'm here to share there is a different way, a real way to transcend all of that stuff. Okay? Because if you, I would love to actually have a conversation with all of those people who have been perceptive victims. Okay? So even just maybe they're not on the news, right? But these, you can hear it. I mean, you can see it on the news though. Like, you know, this, when you see those, you know, mugshots of men or women, you know, so and so, you know, this 35-year-old man accused of raping this 9-year-old girl. Well, this 9-year-old girl doesn't understand what going to jail means. She doesn't understand any of that or what's going on. And it didn't, that's energy is going to stay with her until she transcends it. Okay. It doesn't matter what happens to this other person. Does that make sense? So that's where I'm coming from. It's not a shallow love and light perspective. That's bullshit. So I agree with you. That doesn't resonate with me, however you want to word it. That is complete and total bullshit. Okay? But so is, and excuse my language, so is trying to make it worse for others. Or I'm not saying that, of course, because we live in a co-creative reality, right? So, and each creator comes in knowing that these are basically the rules of society. So if you are born in the United States, you're agreeing, okay, these are the laws or whatever, and you can decide whether or not you're going to follow them. But there's a chance if you don't follow the law, then you're going to jail, right? So, of course, if everyone came back to the heart and knew who they were, then the government would not be necessary in a sense, because there wouldn't be any of that going on, right? So, and that's a possibility for humanity, okay? Are we there yet? No. Okay. So I'm not saying that these pedophiles, the murderers, those who break the law, I'm not saying there shouldn't be legal accountability. I'm just saying praying for it because you believe it will bring you closer to yourself. Well, how has that been working out for humanity? And how has that worked out? And that's where the patriot community, I'm not saying it's not a wonderful community, right? And everyone's so excited and it's all about freedom, okay? And it is, but see, it's still trying to find home outside of yourself, believing that there's someone's going to come down with the justice hammer. And there may, okay, external events, but I mean in your mind for yourself, walking through life believing that there's someone that's going to make everything, well, all the bad guys, everyone that's wronged you is going, they're somehow going to go away. See, you're bringing those situations to yourself. So, and once you transcend it, then it's not part of your experience anymore, although others may experience it. Does that make sense? So it's a co-creative reality, but I am experiencing this reality way different than many other people. Does that make sense? So that's where I'm coming from. So it's actually, for myself, these are real solutions that I've found, okay? Because there's not any, the aliens could not get me out of that energy. So not Valnek, not the supervisor, okay? None of my entourage could transcend those perspectives for me. Only I could do that. They were there to assist, but only I could do that for myself, okay? So, and that's the way home, because then the more people step out of that paradigm of control, then the less those pedophiles, the rapists have to play with, right? The money, sex, power, greed, they have nobody else to play with. And then what happens is they have to look within because there's no one else to play the game with. So it's literally about stepping out of playing that game. They're still playing the game, so why play the game with them? Let me get a drink after my speech. Tug of Light says, get out of that avatar playing the game and get into the house with the oversouls who see the game and are holding the controller. Exactly. It's like a video game. So there's so many perceive themselves to be the character, only the character, right? and they're really engrossed in the game, okay? And the more you look within, you bring in your higher levels, the more you expand and start to realize that the body is just an avatar for the creator, and you are actually the one running the show. Okay, so if you don't like murdering, pedophilia, money, sex, power, greed, all of those energy games, if you don't like it, yeah, of course, why would you? It's not very fun, right? But let's do something different, okay? And by different, I mean actually taking your power back, okay? And instead of, also, there's another component to this, is there's the savior complex of the Galactic Federation, or it's not who they actually are, but humanity may have perceived them to be that way, or Jesus or whoever. They are there to assist, but they can transcend the game for you. You're the one who chose to play the game, and you're the only one who can choose to stop playing the game. They would never interfere with what you are doing because they love you, actually. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, Tug of Light says they lose their power. Exactly, because they, well, they, like everyone, okay, are, see, power, I have my power, you have your power, but humanity has made power, the definition of power is having, having power over others, which is a complete and total illusion, because if all of those people, so you have one controller, one head honcho, right? And then they have all their little people, right? And if all those people decided, no thanks, we're not playing your game, then this head honcho, whatever, then they completely lose that power, right? And they have to look for their own power, right? So it's the same thing. That's why, see, Jeffrey Epstein and all of that, that's how it worked, right? So he was perceptively very rich and powerful, and all of these people bought into it, right? And then when you lose those people, then he has no more, or that person has no more power. So literally, that's actually how, if you want justice in a sense, if you want to get out of it, if you want to make sure they have no power again, it's not to throw them in jail, although I'm not saying they shouldn't be. I'm just saying energetically taking your energy back and taking the energy out of it, and then there's no game for them to play. That's really what this that's what it is. That's what it is. Anyways, it's an interesting topic, and it's totally understandable too, because I know, that's why I said, I know so many are not going to understand what I'm saying. That the minds won't, but the hearts will. Let's see. Let me look at see if there's another question. Lisa says, I've heard that giving, receiving love doesn't really exist, just the other person radiating their heart presence, which offers an invitation to one's own heart to remember itself. Yeah, it's actually more simple than the giving and receiving game. So it's just, when it's from the heart, you are embodying your presence, the love that you are, and then others feel the love that you are, and they feel it within their own heart, and then they can make the choice whether or not to open their heart, or whether or not to continue to go with the ego, or how they've been living before. It's really simple. So just like your dogs or cats or animals or the horses, so they are not giving or receiving the way that humanity does it, right? They're just being who they are, and they open so many hearts all over the planet all the time. So that's really, it's way more simple than we've made it out to be. So Love Life says, so is transcending a conscious response to walk away from those negative experiences, leaving them to their own karma to learn from? Let me read it again. So is transcending, I'll read it to myself. So is transcending a conscious response to walk away from those negative experiences, leaving them to their own karma to learn from? It, yes. So it's, yeah, so the negative experiences, right? So it's because obviously, so when I tune into it, there's someone else involved here, right? So because we're gonna leave them to their own karma, right? So so we have a negative experience with another person. So okay, so we look at it. Why is this happening? Why am I here? What's going on here, right? And taking responsibility for our half of it, right? So, and then what happens is the other party, they have the option to continue to do what they're doing, or to also look within, also to come back to the heart, right? And if they karma, I mean, so they, I'm trying to find the right words. Whatever they're doing, right? If it's out of alignment with who they are, it's painful. Okay. So it's not that their karma is coming to get them, but they're literally living a life where they're out of alignment with their higher levels, which makes, well, I haven't met anyone that's content living outside of themselves, or living well, completely and totally separated from themselves. So it's, they are creating their own path, right? And so those who are in their ego, and who yeah, who are out of alignment with their higher levels, it's painful. So they're experiencing pain. It doesn't necessarily have to be karma, but yes, it's a conscious response to say, okay, I'm not playing the game anymore, right? And I'm going to do something different. It doesn't mean, and I don't mean someone hurts you or someone harms you and you just sit with yourself. And this is also where I'm tuning into that other dear one's question, saying, you know, I don't resonate with what you're saying, Megan. I don't mean someone harms you or hurts you and you sit to yourself and think, well, you know what, I'm really gonna forgive them because I'm gonna come from love and light. Okay. I'm not talking about, that's bullshit. Okay, that's just trying to convince yourself to into another belief system, right? Or I really, the truth is I really am angry about this. I'm pissed off. And so but I'm going to take this spiritual route. I'm going to come from the heart and just forgive. That's just talking your way into a different frame of thinking. We don't want to do that. So let all of the emotions come up, let all of the anger come up, and be honest. We'll be honest with ourselves, right? Whether it's in, okay, we can let the ego project it onto the other person and have its tantrum, right? So Pam or Bob is an a-hole and I hate them and blah blah blah, whatever the ego starts to say. Okay, but we do it with the awareness, knowing that it's our ego, and we let it all come up to the surface. Okay, instead of just arguing with ourselves and then trying to convince it that it's love and light, that's just shoving it under the rug and pretending it's something that it's not. That's what actually transmuting is, right? So I really hate this situation, so I'm just going to transmute it into love and everything's going to be all good. You know, no, it doesn't work like that. So nothing to find says you don't know what you don't know. It's a learning curve. Yeah, exactly. You don't know. That's why there's no one right path home. It's different for everyone, right? So and that's, you do the best with what you can until you realize something different, right? So that's Tom says, how's Ruffin? Ruffin is fab. Ruffin is the love of my life. I love Ruffino. Brian says, as I'm watching Jumanji, I was watching Jurassic Park this morning. It really had me going. I was like, ah, it really had me. I was really sucked in. Francis says, learning a lot this live. Thanks, Tug of Light. Muna says, you don't save others, you can only guide. Only each person can save themselves. Yeah, exactly. So, because you can't, the thing is you can't walk someone's walk for them, right? So no one can live my life for me. So only I can do that, right? So you can't save anyone because you can't walk their walk for them. You can't literally say, okay, stop living. I'm going to step in and I'm going to fight all your battles as you, through you. It's not really a thing. It's just kind of something that we made up, to be totally honest. So when you try to save others, what you're actually doing is you're not taking the burden away from them because you don't have the power to do that. You're just making more of it for yourself. And that's why it brings us full circle to Jean's comment that she feels like she's been the giver instead and hasn't gotten anything in return. It's because you're taking everyone else's energy on, okay, and making it really a reality for yourself. And it doesn't make it easier for any of those other people. So because they still have to walk their walk, you know. Jenna says, sorry I keep bringing this up, but curious, if you are connected through the heart with someone, can you communicate telepathically with them, even someone that hurt you? Ooh, good question. Poor Loon. I locked her out of the, hey Jamie, how's it going? I locked her out of the, porch area, so, I just saw her. She's sleeping right outside the door. Cutie. So, telepathy. All right, let's get into it. So, I'm trying to think of the right way to answer this. Yeah, so let's just cover all of the bases. Okay? So, everybody and everything is actually connected through the heart. Okay? So, that is in a sense really the only connection. The physical connection is really more of an illusion, but not to get too far into it. Okay, so I try to make things as least confusing as possible. Okay, but I am love, you are love. The love that we are is non-physical. Okay, so we are always connected. Okay, so there's that. Okay, and then there's the mind. Okay, so you have the body, you have the mind, and you have the ego. And you can imagine the ego, it's a conglomerate of all of the judgments you've made from past lifetimes and in this lifetime. Okay, and it's just circling around you. Okay, and then for most people, okay, their consciousness, and we're all, I don't want to use the word getting better, but we're all expanding. That's a better way to word it. So we're all coming back to the heart, okay? But most, their consciousness sits in the mind, okay? And perceiving themselves to be the mind. And you can have an internal dialogue with yourself, okay? So the mind is picking up on literally on you and then translating you into words or how you feel, and then and translating it into a thought, right? So your minds can generate thoughts that are from you, okay? More often than not, okay, the thoughts are coming from mass consciousness, okay? So the matrix, everybody's egos together, all of these judgments, the conglomerate of everyone's egos all together is mass consciousness. Okay, so how you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to act in society, what society says, what the norm is, blah blah blah. It's mass consciousness. Okay, so the mind is also picking up on mass consciousness. Okay, there's also, and a lot of times the ego, I made it an example outside of you, but most people, their ego is still inside of them, okay, or still in the subconscious. They're not aware that it's the ego, they, well, perceive it to be them. Okay, so, and it's all of these, so within the mind, there's all of these judgments from, it's really the ego and all of these judgments and blah blah blah, and it is energy. Okay, so, and there's images that are generated from it, that can be generated from it, there's voices that can be generated from it. Okay, and then you're picking up on mass consciousness. Okay, so when you're, and then there's your entourage, of course, and you can also, the mind can also be picking up on your entourage as well. So it's just about getting really clear, okay, about who you are, and that's how you can communicate clearly, telepathically with another being. Okay, so being aware of the ego, mass consciousness, and really feeling your presence within the body, so you know what's going on, and where everything is coming from. Okay, so, and um and a lot of times, so just reading your question again. Through the heart with someone that can communicate with you telepathically, even someone that hurt you. So if you've had, and this is interesting, because if you've had a relationship with someone, okay, so it doesn't have to be romantic, it just, whatever, you've had a relationship with someone, oftentimes energy cords are created. So because we perceive the power to be outside of us, we exchange energy, like Jean said, giving and receiving. So there's cords created between you and that person. Okay, so you can be picking up, and then they're thinking about you, and then you pick up on the energy because there's attachments, right? It's just cords, and then you think about them and the energy, it's goes back and forth, right? So if you've had a relationship with someone and you start to think about them, it might not be that they're consciously telepathically communicating with you. Okay, you want to know, it may just be all of the cords that are attached, right? So, and it's their ego, it's really it's two ego attachments when there's cords attached, because there's the word attachment in them. Does that make sense? So it's not necessarily that you're, see, when you're connected through the heart, you're connecting to their higher levels, and their higher levels as love would not want anything from you, would not be bothering you, telling you what to do, be bugging you. It's just love. So there's no attachment, right? So it's just, there's, when I tune into it, Jenna or Jamie, it's just there's cords of attachment, because this is, well, you guys had a tango, so to speak. So so you had expectations for him, he had expectations for you, and it's oftentimes what relationships are a power struggle, unfortunately. So you're trying to get your energy back from him, he's trying to get his energy back for you, and you both are going at it, and then the relationship ends, right? Like you break up, okay, bye, thanks so much, and but the cords are still there, because it's about addressing why you're doing what you're doing, why you went down that route, so to speak, and then you are calling all of your consciousness back, and you are becoming whole and complete within yourself. It's the same dynamic I described with the abusers, the pedophiles. See, it could be a relationship with anyone, right? So you can have outside sources hold those abusers accountable, but you are responsible for the energy entanglement, and you can only, well, once you stop buying into the idea that they have power over you, it dissolves all of those cords, those attachments, and then you're welcoming in your energy, and you're whole and complete within yourself. So anytime you have a relationship with someone, specifically if it's really emotionally charged, that's really what happens. Okay, and then we say, okay, enough is enough, whatever, it ends. And then we want to look at why that was brought into our life, okay? And where, not where we went, not where we went wrong, but what was going on underneath it all. right? And that's really when I tune into it, Jamie. It's, yes, you're picking up on his energy, and it's because there's cords attached. And so we say, okay, I'm calling all of my energy back, okay, and bringing it all back to me. And if there's that thought, and this is where the ego comes in, just so everyone's aware that you don't have the power to do that, that you cannot do that, that it's, well, that sounds nice that Megan said it, but I don't feel like I'm truly able to. That's awesome. So let's address that, because that's exactly where the belief is. And let's take a look at that. And oftentimes it comes from childhood, where we bought into that kind of stuff. Okay? So, thanks, Love Life. Love you. Frexellus says, are the reptilian Draco highly evolved versions of the Jurassic Park raptors? It depends on what your definition of highly evolved means. So the reptilians, okay, so the dinosaurs, the raptors, there's reptilian DNA, right? Whatever. I'm not a genealogist, so I'm not going to pretend to be. But I'll just speak from what I know, okay? So, and they are their bodies, not them, but their bodies. See, most of this, what we're playing with here is all through the identification of the body and the mind, okay? So, and also to note, just because this is about when you transcend stuff, it's about being neutral. It doesn't mean that you are going to go be a rapist's best friend, or a pedophile's best friend, or a murderer's best friend. Why would you do that? They are completely engrossed in the ego. It's just about being neutral. Okay, so the same thing with the reason I thought of that is because you brought up the reptilians. So the commonality is they have reptilian DNA, right? So, and it is those dear ones that form the life, the love that they are experiencing, first of all, a very small part of themselves, okay, in a body. So the rest of them, because they're so big, is not, they are omnipresent, they are a creator as well. That's how the body is breathing, is because there is light in it. It might not be a large amount of light. They might not, Valnek is helping me with this. He says, I do not agree. They are not evolved. And he is winking. So he's joking with you. Okay. So that's why I said it depends on what your version of being evolved is. He says, he says, I'm so excited to share. He's joking with me because, as I said, I stole the show again today. So, he's showing me dinosaurs. He's showing me reptilians. He says 2 different species. Okay, he says from different planets, different star systems. He says genetics are shared within the universe. He says, he's giving me the example, like there are humans here, and then there are beings that are in a human body somewhere else. But it's really, it might be in a different density, but it's the humans, they have 2 arms, 2 legs, and they are like you or I, right? So kind of like Valnek's body in a way. So he says the level of consciousness is different. He says, I will let Megan explain. We will connect heart to heart. So I'll just use my words. It's easier because the reptilians, they are, first of all, they live totally and completely within the mind, and they totally and completely perceive themselves to be the ego. So I, as myself, I don't need to make their life hell, because I know their life already is, because they're completely disconnected or perceptively disconnected from who they are. So they are totally enthralled within the predatory response, the predator-prey game. Okay? And as long as they prey on others, there will always be a predator for them. They are stuck within that lower level of consciousness. Okay? And what they want from humanity is they see the love outside of themselves. That's why they try to rape children. That's why they try to, in a way, possess bodies and hijack people's minds, because they believe, first of all, that we are just our minds, we are just our bodies. So if they gain control over the body and minds, then they can have the love that we are. But the joke is on them, because we're not our minds, we're not our bodies at all. Okay, so their game hasn't been working. It's only brought more death and destruction upon themselves, because what you do to another being, you are actually only doing to yourself. Okay, so they live a very small, painful existence. Okay, I mean, perceptively, but it's still small, just for everyone's understanding, small, painful existence, trying to find, I mean, they don't even know what the love is. They've never felt it, because their bodies, the way that they are, do not allow them to expand, they can't, it's just the way their genetics are. Okay, so and they cannot have what humanity has, because they have to evolve their consciousness on their own. See, they are actually less evolved than us, so they have to evolve their consciousness on their own. They can't just get it just by trying to take it from others. It's the same thing that humanity's been going through, similar level of consciousness. Okay, not quite as dense, but trying to, you cannot save anyone, you cannot walk another's path for them. You have, only you can evolve your consciousness for you. So, and as soon as humanity evolves, well, when we all realize that, then we will stop experiencing what we perceive to be extraterrestrial invasion, because well, we don't believe that we can be, well, we don't buy into anything that can have power over us. So energetically, it just is not a possibility, right? So it's just it's similar. Yes. Heather says, how old is Earth? Well, I don't know. It's younger than we are, Heather. How about that? I don't know. That's the thing. So many want to know the secrets of the universe, okay? And the thing is, you created the universe, so, but what they perceive to be, see, there's an ideal, right? So if I can somehow study, right, or read all of these books, or and if I could remember every event that ever has happened on Earth, if my mind could remember or understand, then somehow I'll become enlightened. And why would that be the case? How would that bring, if you knew how old, just an example, and I know it's just curiosity, but just to because so many are trying to find their way home from the mind, right? So just for an example, like studying a book about angels. Okay, wonderful. Might plant some seeds, of course. But if you really want to understand angels, if you really want to understand extraterrestrials, if you really want to understand the animal kingdom, it's something, well, all of that, see, it's energy, so it's within you. Instead of trying to understand it from the outside, all of the compartments and putting everything into filing cabinets and the mind, and it really doesn't quite lead you anywhere, because what you're looking for is actually the energy within you, and then what comes automatically is you really can tune into other beings. There was this one time where I was really upset about something going on with Ruffin. I was just dying. I was ready. I was ready. I don't know how long ago. This must have been a year and a half ago. I was ready to, I was so, I was so upset. So about whatever was going on with Ruffin at the time. I don't know. But it must have been something. I was concerned that he was, this is how I realized this. I was concerned that he was in pain and all of this stuff. And he actually, so heart to heart, showed me what it's like to be in his body. And it's nothing like you would ever perceive it to be from a human perspective. There's nothing, you could read all of the horse books in the world. They're all written from just most of them, because humanity is operating from what they know, okay? It's the heart is behind everything, okay? But a lot of it is words, okay, instead of tuning into the energy behind it. So you could read all of that, the horse books in the world. It would never replace that experience that Ruffin showed me that one day. Same time, same thing. I was writing chants. I think I said this on Patreon, but I don't think I said this on YouTube. And me and Chance were cantering around. We were just flying. It was so fun. I was having so much fun. And I just felt like we just became one. And I just, see, words don't do it justice, but just the realization that we're all we're all part of the same being, just different aspects of the same source. It sounds so, when I just say it out loud, it's just words, right? But to actually know it from the heart, those are two very different things. It was beautiful. See, I haven't forgotten that. Like, I always remember, I mean, I feel that way more and more, but that was just like, I don't know, that was so fun. My chancito. Tug of Light says, Marcia says, did Ruffin not feel any pain? Not the way, they're not attached to their bodies like we are, so they don't hold on to, it's just a completely different perception. So not, the body does feel pain, but he knows he's not his body, so it's just a completely different experience. Tug of Light says, are all the pyramids and earth frequency holders coming back online? Well, I'm asking Valnek what he thinks about the pyramids. It's just the, he says I can speak. Okay, go ahead. He says much of what they did long ago. He's showing me their minds. He's saying the words half truths. Okay, he's showing me news articles. Because I saw this news article like a week or so ago about they found like ancient stuff under the pyramids. He says fake news. He says half truths. It's, in what way? See, the ancient Egyptians, we see it backwards in a sense, like they were more advanced than us for some reason. And they may have had some knowledge of how, for example, to create a energy system using a pyramid. Okay, so, and they may have had extraterrestrial helpers, okay? But it doesn't mean that their consciousness was more evolved than ours. Actually, ancient Egypt was very, very, very dense. They literally believed, okay, that if they wanted the grass to grow, then this is why I don't specifically pay attention to anything ancient Egyptian. Okay, so just from my, because for myself, it's, see, we don't, creator doesn't go backwards, we only go forwards. So history is nice if you want to look at history and see, do patterns keep repeating, so what can we do to change it, right? But for the most part, but for myself, I know we always go forward, so I don't look back too much, just for myself. Okay, but ancient Egypt, they really, their level of consciousness was the same that we are evolving out of today, right? So when you see the dollar bill and you see the pyramid, and on top of it, it says, "In God we trust," with the evil eye, they believe that there's the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh is chosen by God. Okay, God is outside of them. That tells you, A, how advanced they really were. And then they have all of the people below them, right? So, and all of those people are looking for salvation through the Pharaoh, or by serving the Pharaoh, they will gain eternal life. Okay, even though they're already eternal, but they don't know who they are. Okay, they believe they are their bodies. That's why they mummified them. Okay, because they wanted their body in the afterlife, right? So, but for some reason, we look back in ancient aliens, and they may have, so let's, because part of it is too, they may have, yeah, I'm just tuning into Valnek. So I will blow the, I'm going to blow the lid on this. So 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 because the thing is, the higher evolved beings, they will not interfere. Okay, so they are there to assist humanity, but they will not stop us on our walk home, because only we know our way home. They see us for who we are. We are divine creators. You're creating this situation for yourself. If you want to step out of it, we're here. Okay, but we're not going to interfere. Okay, so if there were extraterrestrials in ancient Egypt, were they benevolent? Were they there to assist? Because we know that they were all worshiping the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh was better than everybody else, and even sacrificing children to the Pharaoh. Okay, thanks, but no thanks. And they were, well, they were all worshiping the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh's the chosen one, and blah blah blah. And we have to, if there's a drought, then we have to do whatever the Pharaoh wants, so that the Pharaoh can tell God to make it rain, or one of the gods to rain, right? So it's a lower, literally a lower level of consciousness. God is outside of you. So if there were extraterrestrials that gave the ancient Egyptians technology, okay, or even visited the ancient Egyptians, were they there to assist, or were they there to make a deal and interfere? Which one do you think it was? I know it's so they so there were, it is highly possible that there were extraterrestrials, and in fact, yes, of course there were, okay, visiting, but they were not of a higher consciousness either. They were there to, well, we'll let you know about some of our power systems, okay, and you, maybe you give us some of your humans, and that's child trafficking, right, or human trafficking, because of course they're nothing to the Pharaoh. And then we give you this, and then your can be buried in the pyramid, and you have eternal life. It's an energy exchange, right? So they were interfering with humanity at that time. So it was nothing. It was not from love. It was basically, I'm gonna give this to you, and then you owe me. And then when you can't give me what I want anymore, then there's going to be a problem, and all of that. So it's just, that's why I don't look to ancient Egypt. Never, well, I was never bedazzled by it, right? So it's just, yeah, that's how I feel. And if it was, if there were power systems many years ago, okay, it may resemble something that we have here today, but our technology is much, much, much more advanced than now. So it's just, I mean, we have had anti-gravity technology, we've had free energy for a long time. It's just not legal yet or out in the open, right? So that's just how I feel. Well, that's how I see it. So, but anywho, so 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 I will, we'll be back with more videos. And and our entourage wants to give us a message. So, so they are, well, they're really excited to continue to watch everyone grow and to assist everyone and to work with everyone. And of course, don't give up on yourself. Why would you? And they are there, and we love you all. So bye now, everyone.